may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Greetings from the Philippines to the world. We are on Facebook Live on Eagle News and Net25 TV, and also on our streaming site, eaglenewslive.com. Watch us on our YouTube channel at Net25 TV. I am Cesar Vallejos. Welcome to Open for Business. Join me discover the latest news and information in business around the world. Stay ahead of the curve from vision to action. Essential or non-essential, lugaw and other food has always been a vital part of our culture. Our food defines our heritage, connects communities, bridges differences, and unites us as a nation. We are celebrating Food Filipino Month this April that aims to promote and preserve local culinary and the role they play in Filipino culture and heritage. Jam Melchor, the founder of the Philippine Culinary Heritage Movement, will share his thoughts on why we are commemorating the importance of Filipino cuisine and how it helps us create our identity as Filipinos in this episode of Open for Business. Stay tuned, we will be back.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Open for Business is back, and with me is Jam Melchor, the founder of the Philippine Culinary Heritage Movement. How are you, Jam?
Hi, Cesar. I'm good. Thank you for having me today.
Yes, this is a very relevant month and a very exciting month because we are celebrating the Filipino Food Month. And before I ask you questions about the Filipino Food Month, there was a viral video about lugaw as a non-essential, and sometimes, and a lot of people corrected it, it's an essential food, especially during the pandemic. What's your take on this, Jam?
Well, I mean, that incident is quite unnecessary, I guess. But perhaps when we are talking about the food itself, it's basically essential because most of the people that I know, especially those people that are sick, are only able to consume such type of liquid food. And one major type of food is lugaw or arroz caldo. And it can be found all over the country. It's part of our staple as a nation.
So, talking about this proclamation, I see that the presidential proclamation 469 was really signed to promote, preserve, and ensure the transmission of vast Filipino culinary traditions to the present and future generations. So that's very interesting that, as you mentioned, there's a lot of celebrations, commemorations, and you mentioned a lot. And this happened only recently. I think you mentioned, is it, if I'm not mistaken, I heard it's 2018. Tama ba, Jam?
2018. It was signed in 2018.
2018. So with that, what were the challenges? How was the reception of the industry, specifically the ones who, like you, are into food preparation, preservation of Filipino culture, and also, especially with the businesses, we know that with food now, food security now is one of the priorities also of the Philippine government and other countries in the world. With that proclamation, so far, what were your challenges and how did you see the development of the promotion of gastronomy, Filipino culinary, when this proclamation was finally signed?
Alam mo, Cesar, it took us a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to make this thing happen. No, it was around 2013 when I started the Filipino food movement. I was tapped by the Department of Agriculture then to go around in different countries to promote Filipino food. Tapos sabi ko, how come the government is promoting outside of the country whereas there's so much need to promote within the Philippines? If you ask a young person, what's Filipino food for you? Ang sagot nila, Jollibee or McDonald's. But that's the reality. So, after that, pagbalik ko ng Philippines, kinausap ko yung mga counterparts ko sa food industry, yung mga movers and shakers, and we decided to put up that movement, yung Philippine Culinary Heritage Movement, which is the sole organization that preserves Filipino food culture in all aspects. So, sabi ko, dapat pag nag-organize tayo ng events, hindi lang mga pop-up markets, hindi lang mga food bazaars, hindi lang mga kainan. Has to be something na may gravity at talagang pakikinabangan ng mga next generation. I am from Pampanga. So, talagang we take food seriously. Ang reception nila ay, syempre, may mga iba na, oh, we've done already that in the past. Oh, mahirap yan kasi it's a big challenge, matrabaho. But it didn't stop me kasi I really felt like it's high time to celebrate Filipino food more than anything within the country. Hindi lang tayo pwedeng promote. We also have to underscore preserve. Kasi marami nagpo-promote pero wala masyadong nagpe-preserve. So one way of preserving is by pushing for the government to recognize Filipino food through a form of law, which is Filipino Food Month. Now, you have to understand that the food and beverage industry is a multi-million industry. It brings so much money to our economy. And we should take note of that. We have to celebrate that. And the only time, the legit, yung mga term ng millennials, legit time to celebrate it is through a proclamation, which is Filipino Food Month. It is the best time. I mean, yes, we can celebrate food every day, every month. But at least sa isang buong taon, meron tayong tinatawag the most delicious month in the Philippines. Something of that extent. Wherein also our kababayans from all over the world through the embassies and consulates can celebrate Filipino food culture because as you know, Filipino food or food in general binds everybody together. Kaya importante talaga yung celebration na ito.
Jam, you mentioned earlier your roots. You said you are from Pampanga, and yes, when people talk about Pampanga, it's really the home of chefs. The home of people who love food with festivals. Is this really somehow your upbringing? Is the motivation coming and the inspiration coming from your roots? I know that you have also traveled abroad and you represented the Philippines in some parts of the world. So, what was that factor that really triggered you, to initiate this movement? Is it both a combination of your being a Kapampangan at the same time, seeing probably the gastronomic delights of the different cultures in different parts of the world? What was that inspiration? And also, if you can again tackle what's that basic difference between, as you said, preservation and promotion in terms of food heritage?
I guess you are right. No, kasi the only parang puhunan that I always say when I was just starting is, I am a Kapampangan. So there's this significant trust pag sinabing Kapampangan chef ka, ito automatic masarap magluto. Because most of the dishes that I know to prepare and have been preparing for the longest time are heirloom dishes. Yung heirloom kasi is something that has a genetic strand of more than 500 years. Mga pasa, minana from our lolos and lolas. And ito yung naging puhunan ko talaga. And with that love and devotion for heirloom, the things that I learned from my grandparents, siguro na i-mainstream ko at naibahagi ko on a national level.
With that experience, talking about heirloom, can you cite some examples? Because I am from Pangasinan, and of course, I also had I also lived in Region 2, which is Cagayan Valley. So, siyempre doon sa amin, pakbet, pinakbet, or pakbet, or pinakbet, or what, we call that heirloom dish. So, can you describe more, and can you cite some examples of what you say as an heirloom cooking or dish? And what is it there that you think can be, something that can be capitalized by businesses? Lahat ngayon, when you talk of MSMEs, di ba? Parang, we have 99.6%, of the total economy being run by MSMEs. And I think this is where the food industry is needed. So hindi I agree there when you said what is that favorite food, either Jollibee or fast food or any other brand. But when you talk of this heirloom, there is parang for a change, I haven't really heard that except, this month. Can you talk more, and give examples of what you are talking about heirloom, which could be something that could be unique in different parts or regions of the Philippines?
Tayo kasi, tayong mga taga-probinsya, we have so much diverse food experiences. Ako, I've said this a while ago. I came from Pampanga. I spent most of my childhood with my grandparents, and I've learned so much from them. In Pampanga alone, we have different ingredients, from the weirdest ones to the most foul-smelling ones but delicious. For example, burro. We eat crickets. We eat frogs. There are different types of fishes. So, tapos puro meat because it's highly influenced also by the Spanish. So, yung curiosity with food talagang hindi nawala. Dinala ko siya hanggang sa pag-edad. And then I also love traveling. Siyempre, as a chef, you need to expose your palates with different types of cuisines. And as you travel, you always wanted to try that specific cuisine kung saan yung mapupuntahan mo. And with that, siyempre, yun nga, magandang thrust talaga is to celebrate what's local. Locavorism. And that's being sustainable, which is dapat na i-adapt natin na model, sustainability. If you noticed over this past year, most of the people who are selling online stuff, usually food, ay yung mga specialty nila sa bawat lugar nila. Doon naglabasan yung mga recipe ni tita, recipe ng nanay, recipe ng lola ko, because food is a huge part of our personality, our persona, our culture, and hindi mawawala yon. And yun nga, as we move, as we gear towards the new normal, importante that we pivot to something which is really familiar and hindi imposibleng gawin. Lalo na yung pagkain because food is essential.
Yeah. So, Jam, this is very insightful because what you are trying to communicate now is that kind of uniqueness. Kasi since we come from different parts of the region of the Philippines, tayo nga sabi mo nga, tayong mga taga-probinsya, we have a lot of experiences when it comes to food, and that could be the source of our uniqueness. Is this, in your view, also as an entrepreneur, could be something that small businesses or MSMEs can capitalize in order to, bring that new flavor in terms of their product offering? And what are your ideas in promoting and preserving that? Kasi, limbawa, sabi mo nga, nung pandemya, naglabasan ng mga iba-ibang recipe. Di ba? So, how would you now be able to share that to the world? And what, especially now that, somehow there's social distancing, we don't necessarily, have this taste test, di ba? Dati, before, and exhibitions were really, everywhere. If you don't participate in trade exhibitions where you can sample, there's food tasting, di ba? You cannot really experience what this restaurants or food servers will provide you. So the question is, how challenging is it now to, as you mentioned, both promote and preserve what we have, especially coming from the regions?
We're actually thankful that we were able to start this movement even before this entire pandemic started. Kaya we were able to adjust with the times. I'm also grateful that nagkaroon ng pagkakataon para mapatunayan yung sarili namin. And we were able to get the ears of the government, from the Department of Agriculture to the National Commission for Culture and the Arts and Department of Tourism. We are in the position na nakikinig sila dun sa aming mga suggestions. Just to cite an example, this entire Filipino Food Month, napuno ng capacity building workshops virtual because learning should not stop dahil may pandemic. Why can't we maximize the internet, yung social media, lalo na sa mga kabataan? So, ang dami-dami naming capacity buildings on how to grow your own food, on how to maximize urban space, turn them into gardens, on how to celebrate ingredients. We have so much produce around the country. Iba-ibang regions nag-participate. In fact, through the Department of Tourism, their global offices, we have also celebrations all over the world. Australia, Taiwan, Germany, Hawaii, name it. It's present. Lumaki talaga siya, surprisingly. And they have adapted also some suggestions that we made. For example, food mapping. Ang food mapping is essential because we have to know kung saan tayo kukuha ng mga produce in times of calamities. So we have to map the entire country through food. Isa yon sa mga initiatives. Slow travel, traceability, promoting traceability, knowing where your food comes from. Hindi ka lang nag-travel because you wanted to eat. You also wanted to know the certain culture of a community, how they make it. Ngayon, may ganun na. Like may mga areas na pwede for travel, yung safe destinations. We work this out with DOT also. So ang ganda-ganda ng synergy ng Filipino Food Month. Dahil very inclusive.
But Jam, what is your outlook specifically in the food business? We know that as we as we mentioned during the introduction, lugaw is essential, di ba? Pagkain talaga. Pero what is that outlook in terms of MSMEs creating businesses out of food?
Food is essential talaga. And ito yung isang bagay na hindi mawawala because ang tao kailangan niyang kumain 3 times a day, paminsan 6 times a day. It's just a matter of learning new tricks and trade, lalo na making use of social media. Yung dati wala kang pakialam no sa Instagram or sa FB business, but now you need to learn how to boost ads, how to make collaterals, no, how to make use of your Viber group, communities, join food communities. Kasi dyan lang tayo matututo kapag sinubukan natin yung mga bagay na we've never done in the past.
Mm-hmm. Now, Jam, you've been exposed abroad. You've attended, I'm sure, many exhibitions and represented the Philippines also in a lot of events. Ano ang pagkakaiba ng Filipino cuisine? How is it? How is our culinary gastronomic delights stand out when placed in the international market? Is this something that is also sustainable when we create a Philippine, as you mentioned, Philippine plate, that you can share with the world?
Ang maganda sa pagkain natin, it's very diverse. And because of the influence of the Spaniards, the Americans, the Japanese, and other different nations, talagang exposed yung ating palate. Alam natin kung ano yung masarap tsaka hindi masarap. And with that, we were able to come up with something sa sarili nating pagkain. Nagkaroon nga ng fusion cuisine na tinatawag. So, ang pagkain natin is one way on how to promote our culture. And it follows. Meron nga silang tinatawag na gastrodiplomacy. Yung gastrodiplomacy ay isang form of promotion na ini-encourage ko na dapat gamitin ng DFA. We've been encouraging them to use this to anchor their programs to culinary tourism. Kasi doon talaga, the easiest way to introduce our culture is through food.
Okay, so I think we're running out of time, Jam. And what is it that we expect pa from the organizers of the Filipino Food Month? What will people expect? Where will they go? What things can they learn? And I also learned a bit that there are also some short films or films about food that you will be showing. What are the other activities, that people like us can see about and can expect from the Filipino Food Month?
First of all, I would like to invite the public to join us in the national celebration of Filipino Food Month. April is Filipino Food Month. And yes, lugaw is essential. So you can actually find the different forms of activities in our Facebook page, which is the Filipino Food Month. And sa bawat page po ng mga organizers, katulad ng Department of Agriculture, ng National Commission for Culture and the Arts, ng DOT, ay makikita nyo po yung iba't ibang activities that will happen within the month of April. And also, if you want to be part of our movement, yung Philippine Culinary Heritage Movement, we're also on Facebook and Instagram. We're quite pushing na mas maging active sa social media to reach to more people at para mas mapalaganap yung mga ginagawa naming initiatives.
We know that the pandemic has really taught us a lot, and this is one of the times where we really had to do a lot of introspection, a lot of reflection about what happened. In your case, what were your learnings during the pandemic? What were your realizations? What is it that you can share to MSMEs on both on a personal and professional level?
Papinsan, dumarating sa akin personally yung tinatawag na burnout. I have to admit. Kasi syempre, yun nga, because of the anxiety and yung mga iba-ibang challenges na dumarating, we do not really expect. We're just human. And I think ang maganda lang is kailangan balikan natin yung whys natin. Bakit natin ginagawa ito? Para kanino? And ano pa ba yung gusto mong marating? Kasi if we're focused enough and alam natin yung mga gusto natin, I think kahit pa paano everything will work properly at some level. Kahit ang gulo-gulo na. As long as you have that discipline. And number one, yung strategy. Importante kasi dito, diskarte ngayon. Sabi ko nga sa mga nagtatrabaho ko, sa mga staff, paminsan ngayon hindi importante kung makailang diploma ka na, PhD, or kung ano-ano pa. Ang importante sa panahon yan, diskarte. May maiuwi kayong pera sa pamilya ninyo. May mayahapag kayong pagkain sa pamilya ninyo. I'm not downplaying. I also teach as a professor at St. Scholastica's College, Manila. But then, sa panahon ngayon, diskarte talaga.
Thank you so much, Jam. That's really an exciting conversation, and as we speak, it gets me hungry. And thank you so much. We know that there's more activities to look forward to, and we hope that you can hopefully every year we can see you and guest you here in Open for Business. That is Jam Melchor, the founder of the Philippine Culinary Heritage Movement. Open for Business. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Broadcast journalist Wayne De La Fuente returns on Philippine television and radio to deliver top stories and engage with the country's policymakers, shapers, and movers. Tatalakayin ang mga pangunahing balita alas 7 ng umaga mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, live sa teleradyo ng Net25 at Radyo Aguila DCEC 1062. Kasama si Wayne De La Fuente sa Balit Talakayan.
Thank you for watching Open for Business. Join us again in the next episodes of Open for Business for more insights from CEOs, thought leaders, and industry experts and SMEs promoting business development in the Philippines. See you again every Saturday and Sunday here in Open for Business, where we discuss business information, deliver the latest business news, keep you informed and open for business, and be ahead of the curve from vision to action. You're on Facebook Live on Eagle News and Net25 TV, and you can watch this again in the video section of the Eagle News and Net25 Facebook pages and on eaglenewslive.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Net25 TV. Before we say goodbye, we extend our deepest condolences to the family of Brother June Santos. Thank you for guiding us, loving us, and inspiring us. Salamat po ka, June Santos, at sa kanyang pamilya. Kikiramay po kami at nagmamahal po sa inyo. On behalf of Open for Business, this is Cesar Vallejos. We live in interesting times.